on, family? How is everybody doing? Had to make sure I turned that off. Oh, fam, listen. I hope everybody has their libations. You might need it tonight. We're going to pivot, and we're going to pivot quick, so keep with the curve. But before, don't we want to lose you. But before we do that, remember, and I am going to try to, God, Bakar sent me the free one. I'm going to try to find it in my email and put it and pin it to the top. But where do we go from here? Chaos or community? Martin Luther King Jr. We're going to read that, digest it, and also critique it. We're going to do all of that with the book club. The book club date has not been announced because there's a lot going on, the conference coming, all that kind of stuff. But just know, get an early start or whatever, and this is going to be the next book. Just know that. Hit the like button. If you are in the chat right now, please hit that like button for me. Costs you nothing. You can also go to donatebrown.com. You can also go to patreon.com/ycarnell. You can go to subscribe-to-brown.com. Add your name to my mailing list. That costs you nothing. A great way to donate without paying any monies. No monies. So let's do that, fam. Let's do that. Make sure you share. Make sure you share it with your people. We're having a book club. We're going to have a conversation. Make sure you do that. So what I kind of want to do tonight is I want to talk about connectedness. Connectedness is important. And it's important in a lot of ways. In the sense of when we talk about white supremacy, we have to talk about the connectedness. I feel like I'm missing something. But we have to talk about the connectedness of the whole thing, right? We're not talking about one thing. You have to talk about how this whole thing is interconnected. So I'm going to take you all the way from an ICE raid to chicken farmers to the decline of black business. And we're going to see what that all has in common with us being locked out. And you're going to see what it is when you deal with the behemoth. Because some of you said something. We're going to do a little mailbag as we pivot towards the middle of the show. Just a little mailbag, do a pivot, just a little pivot. Just ball of your foot, little thing, little pivot towards the middle of the show. Just to kind of bring it down to where and what we need to talk about. Right? So let's start here. To start at the starting place is a great place to start. There was an Atlantic article, but the Atlantic article hid the leads. There were two leads in there that they hid in the body. It talked about, they talked about immigration and it's wonderful and all this stuff, but there was some stuff in there that they hid, which showed that this is a much more complex conversation than anybody wants to have. And we're going to use this conversation to go into something else and talk about kind of the fluidity of white supremacy and what that means for us as a bottom caste group. So let's do it. I got to go into a couple of quotes just to paint the picture that the author painted about what really happened. Okay? As described in my book, Fast Food Nation, published in 2001, the largest companies in the beef industry had recruited immigrants in Mexico, brought them to the meatpacking communities of the American West and Midwest, and used them during the Reagan era to break unions. Wages were soon cut by as much as 50%. Wages were soon cut by as much as 50%. Make sure you hear that. Right? Line speeds were increased. Government oversight was reduced, and injured workers were once again forced to remain on the job or get fired. See, understand what I'm saying here as we go forward. What we're looking at is not a case of anybody caring about the people coming from the southern border. The people, I'm not talking about me, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people in power. I'm talking about these corporations. What they're trying to do, and we're going to pivot in a minute, but what they're trying to do is get cheap labor, because if you get cheap labor, you can exploit these people. It's not like these people were leading good lives in this poultry plant. You can read the whole article and see what immigrants, because they don't have the rights as Americans, the poor immigrants, and what they endure in these poultry plants or whatever. A couple of them have been amputated, like on the job, survived amputation. Ain't that something? That's like going back to some other stuff. Well, because they're not American, they can't access American rights and citizenship, because the rights come with citizenship. So if you can't do that, it becomes a problem. You have to be able to access the rights and go to the Department of Labor and go to EEOC. If you can't do that, they just lower the bar, and they lower the bar for everybody. Because let's say if you were paying good wages back then and you're not paying good wages now, how are you going to pay good wages let's say you're a company across town. You're a different kind of plant. You're not this plant in Mississippi, because we're talking about the Mississippi plant that got raided by ICE. If you're another plant, you're not going to pay more than they're paying. They've set the bar. No competition. Why would I pay you 20 when you're making 12? So let's just go to the next quote, because we're going somewhere and we got to go fast. One of the poultry plants that explored in the small town of Morton, Mississippi, was raided last week. BC Rogers, the company that owned the plant in 1994, launched a hiring drive that year called the Hispanic Project. Its goal was to replace African American workers who were seeking a union with immigrant workers who would be more pliant. That means more easily taken advantage of because they have no rights. You're not a citizen. You can't accept these rights. We're going to bring you here and we're going to take advantage of you and throw the African Americans out. That way you don't win, really. I mean, you win something, but the African Americans don't win either. You might get your arm cut off, but you coming from the third world, you're desperate. They're taking advantage of desperate labor. And the African American workers don't have anywhere to go. Like, we just get kicked out. Let's go to the next quote really quick. We're talking about the company. It placed ads in Miami newspapers. This is another, all these companies did it. Yeah, but that's what they did to recruit to these rural areas, because a lot of these areas are rural and southern. That's another thing. The South. We're in the South. A lot of these plants are in the South. Also, it placed ads in Miami newspapers, arranged transportation for immigrants, and charged them for housing in dilapidated trailers. Within 4 years, it had brought roughly 5,000 mainly Latino workers to Morton and another meatpacking town in Mississippi, enlarging their population by more than 50%. So you have to think about it. You have to think about what happened here. You have to think about not only, so let's say you are an African American who got in that community, whether or not you work for the plant or not. Like, this is a plant now that you don't have access to. This is a job that you don't have access to. And not because immigrants just came. They were recruited. And they weren't recruited to have a good life. They were recruited to be taken advantage of. That's what I keep saying. This whole thing where you get the poorest of the poor immigrants and you bring them here is so that capital can take advantage of them. This is the deal. This is a deal with the devil right here. Capital takes advantage of them, so the Republicans love it. And the Democrats think, well, we're going to get some more voters because these are laborers, so they'll probably vote for us. So everybody's in on it. And you look at what it does to wages, what I just mentioned. The immigrant workers arrested the other day were earning about $12.50 an hour. Adjusted for inflation, during the late 1970s, the wages of meatpacking workers in Iowa and Colorado were about $50 an hour. Think about that. So you go from 50 to like 12. But here's the thing too. Here's the other part of it. What happens is when we get kicked out, nobody says anything. When we get kicked out, and Reagan, Ronald Reagan and his goons, basically, because a lot of stuff happened under the Reagan administration that's really awful. Like, if you want to talk about really mass incarceration and stuff, of course it continues into the Clintons. But there's a lot of awful stuff in Reagan, and Antonio documented that in the Rick Ross story. But there's a lot of stuff that, what I'm telling you, nobody showed up for national news because because ADOS employees wanted a union and got banished. We didn't get national coverage. But now national coverage is going to immigrants who were the ones who were recruited to take the jobs from the ADOS who were there, and they're getting national coverage. Make it make sense. Just make it make sense for me. Just make it make sense. It doesn't make sense for me. And it doesn't make sense for me why I should be upset. I'm not talking about in terms of like, you can feel how you want to feel, but from a political standpoint, like, why should I should see this and say, like, you lock my people out. And you recruited desperate people who were coming from desperate poverty to take over so that you could take advantage of them. And so that you could exploit them and their legs get cut off and all kinds. You did that. Understand that. This isn't something that like you do. Well, Yvette, you don't know that for sure. And you want to take away my citizenship after slavery, right? So I don't get to be a citizen to complain and say, I want a union. That's the same thing that happened to the sharecroppers. Remember the sharecroppers way back when tried to get a union? And when do we get to be American, though? How come I can't have a union? I've been trying to get a union. I want a union. I want my rights. I want everything that's supposed to come to me. And you tell me, no, we're just going to place you right here with somebody else. We're going to exploit them because they come from abject poverty. They're not American. They can't access American rights, and they're willing to like work in horrible conditions because they're desperate. So we don't want to deal with you. We're going to deal with them. We don't want you to work for us. We want them to work for us because, and we don't want you to have citizenship. So when you start trying to demand your citizenship, we're going to take it away. I don't know what good it is to live in the richest country in the world and be a citizen if you can't really be a citizen and access citizenship. These people are thankful because even that is better than starving to death, right? So if you live that way, that's better than starving to death or whatever you were going through, depending on which country you come from, whether it's Mexico or Honduras or Guatemala, depending on how poor you were. It's not good for American life, especially ADOS life. So let me just go to this too. We have to go to the owner. Because I thought this was, at first when I saw it, when it came out, when the news said, I thought these were the Koch brothers. Because they were like Coke, but then I said they said in the article, it's not the same and it's pronounced Cook. So it's the Cook, the Cook Foods. And the man's name is, the billionaire's name is different. So it's a whole different, but he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire. I think he's Chicago based or something, a billionaire. Don't get him twisted. Owned by Joseph Grindes, a Chicago multi-billionaire, Cook Foods was also cited by the Department of Agriculture for discriminating against African-American poultry farmers. Hold on. Wait a minute. You not only discriminated against the workers in that plant who were African-American, but you went and discriminated against poultry farmers too? You locking it out. You locking us out as workers and as owners and as farmers? Because he's a monopoly. He can do what he wants. According to an investigation by ProPublica, this summer, 173 farmers have contracts with Cook Foods in Mississippi, and none of them are black. Now, I want to take a moment as we go into Cook Foods, because what I want to show is that everything is tied together. This is not just one thing. This is all tied together. So some people said a few things in my comments, right? So we're going to take a quick pivot mid-show, and we're going to go right into mailbag. We're going to go into mailbag, and we're going to come out of mailbag, because mailbag is important for the pivot for where I'm about to go. So let's talk about it. We have to, at some point, get beyond the individual and start talking about the collective. And I don't know if some of you judging from the mailbag are able. So I'm tying this to Byron Allen because it's all the same. It's the same viper. So here's what Byron Allen and Al Sharpton are one and the same. They only care about their own bag. Neither of them give a crap about black people. Well, see, let me go to the second one because I have the same answer for both. The second person, YouTube comments, question, does Byron employ large numbers of ADOS? I'm going to come back to that one too. with this one, what you have to understand is this. This is not, please repeat after me. This is not about Byron. This is not about an individual. Byron's he'll be better if he wins lottery. He gonna be all right. Have you looked at some of the stuff he's been buying? He's gonna be okay. Regardless. He could have more, but regardless, he's gonna be okay. He owns the Weather Channel. He's gonna be fine. This is about a Reconstruction era law that's designed to protect us. If this was just a lawsuit about him as an individual being individually, discriminated against or something, and he didn't use that law, I still support. But this is much bigger than that, because what they're trying to do is take away our right, take away the laws that we fought for, these civil rights acts and stuff. That's what they're trying to take away. They're not trying to take away an individual. They're not trying to do anything really. Well, they're trying to do something to Byron. But what's more important is that they're trying to make sure that there are no more Byron Allens. Because what you have to understand is that Byron snuck in under the radar. They don't want you to compete with them. That's not what they want. They don't want any of that. They don't want you to be bidding on stuff. You're supposed to work for them, maybe. And if not, just go to jail and make stuff there. It's kind of like what I said about the Rich Paul situation. It's not just about him. What's bigger is that they don't want no more of you. So we finna lock the gate. Somehow you got through the gate because you kept a real low profile and nobody knew what you were doing. But now we finna lock the gate. The gate is locked. So, and then the second one, I say kind of the same thing. But I'll add something to it. Listen, I don't think, it's sort of what I said the first time. It's not about Byron. But I don't think we know enough to understand that, we don't get to ask, we don't get to, interrogate and do audits about, well, who did you hire? This is the moment. They're trying to tear down a law that we need. That came after slavery to protect us and kind of make us full citizens. It never happened. We still need that law. It's on the books. We still need other people, other ADOS to be able to sue based on that law. We still need it. This is about, they're trying to, but for, when they say you have to prove but for, that means you have to prove but for race, I would have gotten XYZ. That's very different than motivating factor. It motivated you in some way. That's very different. We don't need them to narrow that to the point to where that Reconstruction era law is meaningless. So we go back. Let's go rewind how we got here. These Cook people, this little man, this little company. Right? And y'all want to audit Byron, but y'all didn't never audit and say how many people did Obama hire that were ADOS. Y'all never audited Obama. Y'all loved him no matter what. You got to stop getting so caught up on who somebody marries because Obama, well, Michelle. No, it ain't about Michelle. Who's in your White House? Who are your senior advisors? How many ADOS are around you? I'm not talking about the man that carries your bag, but how many ADOS who are around you who grew up like a lot of us grew up, lower middle class or abject poor or ghetto. How many grew up like that? You don't audit Obama. You're real tricky about who you audit. And I think you seem to audit people based on their romantic relationships. And that's unserious in this moment. And so what I have to say is, when you go, let's talk about the chicken farmers. We got to go to the poultry farmers. I don't call them poultry. They're chickens. You kill chickens. Chicken. So this was a great, if you want to talk about who's been doing great reporting, ProPublica, I can never pronounce that right. They have been doing it. How a top chicken company cut off black farmers. Understand, this is Cook. Cook is the same company that deliberately replaced ADOS workers, factory workers at this chicken plant, with the Hispanic Project workers that they recruited from Mexico, right? Understand what I'm saying. You have this billionaire who's powerful enough to not only he's not only shutting out ADOS workers at this plant. I can shut off your poultry farmers too. I can shut it all down because that's what monopoly does. Monopoly locks the door and throws away the key. But it's very interesting how it happened. Let's just go through it a little bit. Along with these disadvantages, talking about historical discrimination and all that stuff, Black farmers say they have also encountered bias in dealing with some of the corporate giants that control their livelihood. In complaints filed with the USDA between 2010 and 2015, and this man's name, who we just saw, is John Ingram. So what it says is, in complaints filed with the USDA between 2010 and 2015, Ingram and another black farmer in Mississippi said Cook Foods discriminated against them and used its market control to drive them out of business. Drive them out of business. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Let's go to the next quote. After complaints by the farmers, an investigator for the USDA, which is responsible for regulating the industry, looked into Cook Foods' dealings with those farmers and found evidence of unjust discrimination, according to a 700-page case file and obtained by ProPublica. The 5 largest chicken companies now make up 61% of the market, compared with 34% in the hands of the top 4 firms in 1986. As the biggest companies expanded their control, they raised farmers' average pay by a mere 2.5 cents a pound from 1988 to 2016, while the wholesale price of chicken rose by 17.4 cents a pound, according to data from the USDA and the National Chicken Council. Mississippi is the 5th largest poultry producing state with more than 1,300 chicken farms. In a state where the population is 38% black, only 96 of the farms were operated by African Americans in 2012. The most recent USDA data available, from 2009 to 2017, the Cook Foods went from having contracts with 4 black farmers in Mississippi to 0. But here's the thing. The most amazing thing is how they did it. When you talk about Ingram, let's just stick with him. It's not just about him, but let's stay with him for a minute, because what they did with him was basically trickery. 17 cents in price increase, and only 2.5 went to the workers. Because it's a monopoly. They do what they want. They getting all the money. And they don't want your black self in there. So let me go to this real quick. I know there are a lot, but how this man was hoodwinked intentionally, you have to see it. You have to read it. Shout out to this, to ProPublica for this investigation. After Ingram signed his contract, now understand. Let me just back up a minute. Ingram didn't want to do chicken. He wasn't thinking about doing chicken. He wasn't thinking about chicken or potato wedges or sandwiches. He wasn't thinking about none of that. He bought some land, and he said he might do a couple of things on the land. Right? He said he might do a couple of things there. He said he might. But he said he wanted to pass it down to his family. He said, I just want to pass it down. I had no desire to do anything different. I just wanted to pass something down to my kid. But the Cook company came to him. You know how many billionaires there have to be? If this is, I was reading this and I initially thought it was somebody else. Like, and I was like, wait a minute, this is a different billionaire than the ones I normally think about? God damn. Anyway, they came to him and they said, no. You, listen. All you got to do, let me tell you something. Anytime somebody says, all you got to do, just run. Just run. Because they full of lies. They said, all you got to do, listen, you got this land. Cook came to him. Not the Koch brothers, a different billionaire. So many white billionaires. The Cook company, and it's the owner. The owner's name is like Glendris or something. I can't remember the owner's name, but this little company. They came to him and they said, listen, all you got to do, just listen, we're gonna hook you up into our network. Understand? We just gonna put you in our network. So you got this land over here. We need you to put some chicken coops out here, right? We're gonna send you the chickens. We're gonna send you the chickens. You ain't even gotta get your own chickens. We're gonna send you the food. You ain't even got to get your own food, bruh. All you got to do is raise these chickens up to time to slaughter, and we take them, and you make bank. How could you lose? How could you lose? I just got to raise the chicken. I already got the land. All I got to do is raise the chickens, and I make money. That's what the little white man came and told him. Aha. That's what he told him. You raise these chickens up. We do everything. We're going to hook you into our network. And let me tell you something that's wrong with us. If he hadn't done it, we would have all been like, man, they tried to hook you up and you just missed the opportunity. You should have done that. I'm sure all his friends said you should do that. They trying to hook you up. They trying to be here for these people, this company. They in the chickens and you got land and all you got to do, it was a few chickens on his land when he bought it. And they was like, you just got to do it. Man, come on, just make the money. Well, he tried to do it and something very interesting happened. Let's just go through it point by point. After Ingram signed his contract to grow chickens for Cook Foods in 2002, different company representatives kept coming with lists of expensive modifications they wanted Ingram to make, according to an affidavit he provided to the USDA investigator. After Ingram met all the specifications, the next representative went back on what the previous one said and wanted things done a different way, Ingram said in the affidavit. Hold on a minute. So, what they did, and you got to read the article. Like, let me just put this back up while I'm talking. You have to read the article. They was playing all kinds of games. Like, they would tell him to put up a light on the right side. And then he would put up a light on the right side, and they would come back and say, put it on the left side. Well, why? We just want on the left. Just put on the left. Well, it's going to cost me $10,000 to move it, but you got to move it. Move it. You got to move it. Got to do that. Got to move it. Move your chicken coops. My chicken coops? What's wrong with it? Well, the location. Well, we provide the contract. You have to do it. Just move your lines. These lines you got set up out here, move all your lines. Why I gotta move my lines? Just move them. We said you got to do it. That's $10,000. Understand that they went to him. Please hear me. Understand they went to him and set him up to fail. They went to him not to really hook him into their distribution. They went to him to set him up to fail. And if you look at it, I want you all to start looking at alleged black business owners, and you will see the same thing. They are setting them up to fail. You see a lot of people, just do your own investigation. So this is what they put into place and engineered for him. We're going to put you in a place to where you in contract with us, right? Not only that, they sent him sometimes some dead chickens. Like they said, like, you're responsible for raising the chickens and you got to get the chickens. But then they would send him a bunch of dead chickens, like most of them dead. And then when he said, well, you sent me dead chickens, I couldn't feed them. Well, Oh, we're taking that out of that. You can't. You got a bunch of dead chickens. What you doing? You sent me the dead chicken. You know what? And no feed. Here's what he said. Ingram suspected that the truck drivers who delivered feed were shortchanging him. So he installed sensors to alert him when drivers arrived. In 2007, according to his affidavit, Ingram caught a driver failing to fill a whole feed bin. The company brushed it off as an honest mistake. But Ingram had heard of drivers asking farmers for payoffs to get more feed, according to the affidavit. Let's just go to the next one. At the hearing, Ingram recounted how the company would pay him less if the birds were sick or underfed, even though the company supplied the chicks and the feed. You gonna send me sick birds, and you gonna get mad when I send you back sick birds? The birds you sent me were sick. Ingram said he'd received a tray of 100 chicks with 35 to 40 already dead. Another time he ran out of feed for 3 days and the chickens started eating each other. God, that's awful. Your chickens out there eating each other. They hungry. All because these people did this stuff to you. I don't know if we understand how awful this is. Now see, your chickens out there eating each other. So even the chickens that you do have, you ain't got enough feed. See, what you have to understand is that you have to be a millionaire. You have to be a millionaire to absorb these kinds of losses. Like even if and he's a black man in Mississippi, but you have to be a millionaire to absorb those losses and maybe say, I'm going to go sue this company. You have to do it. You have to do it. And some people will say, it's funny when you hear people talk about, black people, ADOS, who sold land. Well, why'd you sell your family's land? This is what happens when you have land that they don't want you to be on. This is what happens. But we just be blaming each other. Well, you should have just kept that land and you could have probably had $1 million. You're not going to fight this billionaire. Not effectively. And what we miss is that he also, we'll get to that in a second, but he went to an Obama hearing with with Obama's administration, Department of Agriculture, Holder, all of that. They would want to hear from black farmers and stuff, they said. And he went out there and he told him, hey, this is what's happening with me. And I'm going to show you what happened to him after that. But what we have to understand is just, you ain't got no feed. They got you running in circles. And it's not just you, because it happened, we have him up here, but it happened to a lot of them who are doing business and all kinds. It happened to a lot of them. I don't know what you're going to do with your dead chickens. You can't absorb that loss as like a regular farmer. You have to be a multi-million. But that's what monopolies mean. When you have a monopoly, that means that you're going to have to be a monopoly to fight. I don't know what everybody was thinking. So let me just go to this really quick. So he did what you would think he would do, right? Listen, these people with these chickens, I don't want these chickens. I don't want to do this no more. I'm gonna sell my stuff. But it says with Cook Foods delivering flocks to Ingram's farm less frequently than expected, he was making less money and falling behind on his loan payments. He looked into selling his farm. When a prospective buyer from Florida called Cook to inquire about a contract with them, a Cook employee scared him off by saying Ingram's farm needed $100,000 in repairs, according to Ingram's affidavit. The employee also swore at Ingram's real estate agent and spread a rumor that the bank had foreclosed, according to the affidavit. That wasn't true, but it was becoming increasingly hard to avoid. So they set it up to where you can't even sell your stuff. You got a farm you can't sell. You can't even sell your joint. So you saying like, I don't want to be here anymore. You can take this, you can take these chickens, get these raggedy chickens. I'm tired of these chickens. They eating each other. They don't give me enough feed. And I'm tired. I'm going to sell it. And then cook comes in and says, oh, let me tell you something. Psst. Psst. It's a lot of work need to be done on them farms. His farm ain't right. You know he black. He don't keep up his farm. And they're like, oh, no, I'm backing off. Oh. So they make it to where you can't even sell it. What ends up happening? You just end up losing. But that whole company, if you look into it, they like that. There's a part in the article where they don't even want us to take out, they clean up after them. Nah, they don't want none of us around. They anti-ADOS. How is this company still here? But everybody's being locked out. Like we are, like you got to understand how we are being locked out here. Even when you look at, like when we talk about Byron, people are like, well, Comcast did provide some kind of television for black people. They provided like Revolt. Yeah, but Revolt never had the capital to really be successful. What do you see on Revolt except for one show that's popular? Because they didn't give it the capital. There's no capital there. They knew that Diddy didn't have the capital to really invest to make this a real network. So we just gonna do the Revolt conference all the time and have one show? Really? And they know that like when he fails, he's not gonna complain. He's gonna say, well, I sold it or something. See, the thing is this, and well, not yet. Let me just get to this first. I spoke about Obama, so let me bring it up. After he went to the Obama whatever conference, the Agriculture, Department of Ag, and talked about what happened to him, Ingram. This is what happened when he got home. Life is about what happens when you get home. That night, when Ingram returned home to Loving Acres Farm, that's his farm, he found a note from the Cook Foods saying his contract had expired. The USDA investigator later inquired whether it was solely a coincidence that Cook Foods left the note at Ingram's farm on the same day he attended the hearing 300 miles away. A company supervisor said he could not say. He doesn't know. I never got another chicken after going to that meeting over in Alabama, Ingram 55 said in an interview. They put me slap out of business. They put me slap out of business. Do you understand me? You hear what that man? Slap out of business. Knockout punch. "20 years, everything I worked for, I lost it in one summer," Ingram said. "It just ruined me. It just ruined me." And there are other farmers there. Some are hunter-gatherers, for lack of a better term. Some are on food stamps. Because this behemoth corporation, that the same one that intentionally replaced black workers with Mexicans, is the same company that discriminated against these poultry farmers. Successfully, though. And you want to be in my comments, somebody else, who is the person from Ulo Media? Well, what he should do, he owns the Weather Channel, and you have this little thing, media thing. Well, what's Ulo Media? I'm so tired of you commenting. You don't know how tired I am of you. I've never even heard of you. It's an awful name for a media but I'm not going to get into that. Like, how are you to give advice? If they can shut out Byron Allen, who owns the Weather Channel, what chance do you think you have, Ulo? You gonna get your stuff on TV? You gonna start a media channel? You look real cute? You special? Understand that these people are like these farmers now, the food stamps and all this stuff, like they put you on food stamps. Like they do something intentionally. Whether that thing is, they do that intentionally to put you there on food stamps or whatever. Impoverished to be like, oh, look at you. You should just work harder. That's the game. And you got to stop agreeing with the man's game, the way he's playing it. And that was my problem. We talk about the 1619 Project. You can't have that project without telling these stories and talking about everything. And that includes immigration, especially with impoverished and desperate groups, and how that impacts ADOS. You know, you can't just do another kind of Ta-Nehisi Coates piece. I don't know whether y'all have some kind of thing going. I don't know. You can't do that though. You have to, I mean, I'm talking about, you know, internal competition among writers. That's not it. You have to do the real work and talk about today. This is happening today, not just the legacy. The legacy is these farmers being put out of business. Where is your business piece? Why are you on Comcast doing an interview about the 1619 when they're trying to keep a black billionaire from actually owning things and being a part of this sphere? Where are you? I have never had so much silence or heard so much silence. And let me just say this. This is nothing new. These monopolies, I don't even have to say what they are because we all know we don't got no monopoly. You know what it is. You already know what it is. We have been shut out for a very kind of specific reason. And it's been kind of forecasted and it's been intentional. So from this article in the Washington Monthly, it's available online. If you have a chance, really pick it up. Read it. In 1986, a top executive at Revlon made a prediction about the future of the beauty and hair care industry. In the next couple of years, he told Newsweek, the black-owned business will disappear. They'll all be sold to white companies. They'll all be sold to white companies. This has been a very intentional move. Let me go to the next quote really quick. Much the same has happened to black-owned firms in entertainment, communication, and publishing sectors. In response to the merger wave, the founder of Black Entertainment Television, Robert Johnson, told the audience at an investment conference in 1997, you cannot get big anymore by being 100% black-owned anything. 4 years later, Viacom bought BET for $2.34 billion. In 2005, Time Warner acquired Essence Communications Partners, the publisher of the then leading black women's magazine Essence. See, they say, you understand what he said. You can't do anything being 100% black owned. Byron is 100% black owned. No, we ain't doing this. We're not doing this with you. Not like this. We're going to shut this door. I don't know how you got here. I don't know how you scooped in here. I don't know how you swooped in here. I don't know whether you Batman. I don't know whether you wear a cape. I don't know what you do, Byron. But we're not doing this. You're not doing this. And I'm going to stop everybody coming after you. You don't get to just like own your stuff. Nah, you get to like have me own it and you be the face of it. You don't get to own it. You don't get to own it. We got a lot of people talking about black business when ain't no black business. And a lot of people talking about what Byron should do when you own nothing. Nothing of value. How you going to tell a black billionaire what to do or what he's doing? He's telling you what happened to him in those rooms. 90% of black businesses have no employees. That's just a single employee. You ain't got one person working for you. You telling Byron what to do. You have a mental illness. There's something wrong with you. To talk about business if you have one and you have nothing. You don't have anything. You don't know. He's telling you what happens. And what we're seeing in terms of outcomes, what we're seeing in terms of chicken, in terms of what Revlon said back then, what Bob Johnson said, what we're seeing is that they don't want us to be there. And what has to happen As a citizen of this country, your government has to protect you. Your courts have to protect you. They have to show up. And your organizations, whether it be NAACP or the Urban League, everybody has to show up to protect you. If that doesn't happen, we are done. And I don't know what kind of little ULO stupid media you got, but you don't know enough. And how do you not know enough to know that you can't talk to somebody who has already done it and been in real rooms? They're trying to destroy a law that allows us to do business, that allows us to be free in America. They're trying to destroy that. It is about the law. It's not about the individual. How do you not see that? There used to be a lot of antitrust laws, right, that prevented these kind of monopolies from having so much power. But the black business gurus who that you see running around don't know anything. They're empty. So they'll run around and say, well, you just gotta try hard. You just gotta institute these 7 rules. They don't know anything. Listen, you know what? You know what I want you to do? If you run into one of these black gurus, black business gurus, even the ones who run black schools, ask them specifics about how monopolies operate. And I bet you won't get anything. Because they don't know. They don't learn. Monopolies of even locking out white business. What you think is happening with us? Like Byron Allen's lawsuit, and what I'm talking about with the farmers and everything, and the Revlon and the Bob Johnson, it shows the culmination of everything that Tony and I have said to be true. That's what's happening. Even with funeral homes. Black-owned funeral homes are a prime example. During the civil rights era, writes author Suzanne Smith in her book To Serve the Living, funeral directors were usually among the few black individuals in any town or city who were economically independent and not beholden to the local white power structure. Yet today, black-owned independent funeral homes are an imperiled institution as national chains like Service Corporation International muscle out more and more businesses. Charlotte Clark, a black funeral home owner in Roanoke, Alabama, explains that these companies buy local folks' funeral parlors but leave up signs and play it off like there's no change, but call the shots from somewhere else. Oh, they gangster. So they still lead you to believe like, oh, don't. It's still the same thing. But meanwhile, they running some stuff from somewhere else. Because they know how much you believe in black business. So we're going to make you think it's still here. And last, but certainly not least, the same thing happened when some NFL players tried to take over this pork company. Franco Harris, Immaculate Reception. Can he turn around the Paris Sausage Company? It was a black-owned company doing big things. The Park Sausage, whatever, on the New York Stock Exchange. And so why couldn't he make it work? Same thing, same story, all over again. Founded in 1951 by Henry Parks Jr., the Baltimore-based company grew into a multi-million-dollar operation selling pork products from New England to Virginia. In 1969, Parks took the company public, making the 200-employee firm the first black-owned business on the New York Stock Exchange. Yet by the 1990s, after a turbulent series of ownership changes, the company had fallen into bankruptcy. In 1996, 2 black Americans, the former football stars Franco Harris and Liddell Mitchell, attempted to revive the company, but faced an increasingly consolidated meatpacking industry in which the 4 largest meat packers controlled 78% of the market. As Harris put it before selling out, it's been hard to get distribution. Hold on to that. It's been hard to get distribution. You see, I don't know if people understand, but what happens what happens in these situations is that when you get so big as a company, you can just lock other people out. So you can say, as a company that big, if you do business with this, I'm not doing business with you. But you're so much bigger than them. Like your company and the pork you sell, and you might sell chickens or whatever else you sell. Listen, if you do business with this Negro, it's finished for you. If you bring them sausages in here, if you want to, bring them sausages in here and see what happens. That's how they do it. That's how we get locked out. That's what being locked out means. And there's no way to fight that really, except in a courtroom. Except for the government on your side. Because if we had a government that was on the right side of history, we would have them writing amicus briefs for Byron Allen as opposed to against. You know, Obama wrote amicus briefs for the LGBT community in terms of marriage equality. How did he write them for? Did he write them for any cases that were about us? You have to have a government that protects our citizenship, because our citizenship includes our right to do business and not be discriminated against. You have to have that. If you don't have that, then, you know, we're just screwed. And that's all I want to say. Like, and we don't even have, when you talk about the Urban League, when you talk about the NAACP, I don't see anybody standing up and say, I want to protect this law. Nothing about Byron. I want to protect this law. This law is important to ADOS people, and we're going to protect it. And we're going to put the full weight of our legal defense fund, and we're going to write an amicus, and we're going to be there. I don't see any of that. I don't even see, like, normally when a case like this hits the Supreme Court, I see a lot of media. I don't even see any media. I don't see Joy Reid. I don't see Al Sharpton. You understand why he got his chicken box? He doesn't have ownership, though. Because understand, what we're talking about is how do you do ownership? Al getting a check from MSNBC. Mark Morial, who has Comcast on his board, that's not ownership. That's being a powerless pawn. You are a powerless pawn. I need all powerless pawns to exit stage left so we can start talking about ownership. Because I need whoever comes after Byron to be able to do that and create something. And we can all create something different. It don't have to be the same way, but you have to have the same opportunity to create something and build something big. This is not about a person. This is about a law. This is about a group. I don't involve myself in anything that is not about the collective. You fence straddlers get on my nerves. And I think we have to, at some point, come to terms with that. You know, about the losses. You know, we talked about Dr. Claude Anderson, and I wasn't hitting him. I was just saying that, like, the fishery failed. And I'm not even talking about, like, well, it's your fault. Da, 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 da. No, you have to understand the limitations of doing business. There's a reason why even people who are good at stuff or teach stuff keep failing, because they set it up to fail. You know, I don't know. Everybody needs to come to terms that this needs to happen. And I don't know why we're not rallying around this for us. Not for any individual, but this Reconstruction era law. You might as well call it a slave law. How do you not rally around a slave law that's intended to protect you? The first civil rights Act. We remember the second one, but the first one. So as we go to break, I want to hear what everybody has to say. But about, you talk about the poultry farm, discrimination. They had that man running around chasing his tail. He know which way to go, left, right, up, under, over, through, everything. He didn't know which way to go. They had him just running around building stuff and spending money he didn't have. They knew they were driving that man into the grave. One of them said in the article, he said he's I can't remember which one of the farmers, the black farmers. I'm as close to being dead as I could be without being dead. I've been as close to being dead as I could be without being dead. That's what they want. And that's what they're trying to create. And we're not really doing anything about it. We running around talking about what we gonna do. So I want to hear everyone's thoughts on, what went down. From ICE to this and like the future and the lawsuit. Just tell me how you stand, okay? And we'll talk about it. So give me a few minutes to set up the phones and we will, that's the wrong one. And we will be back to have a conversation, fam. And we are back. So let's go straight on to the calls. Let's go straight into it, if you don't mind. I got 2424, so I'm going to 4243. 4243, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, this is Samantha Angelique calling from Los Angeles, Watts to be exact. I'm the one that posted that video that you posted with Omar from The Wire.
Ah, okay. What's going on? What's on your mind?
Yeah. Nothing. I had to call in today. I'm working too, being an Amazon slave. But these past couple days between JC and this Byron Allen thing, I've almost lost my mind with us as ADOS. It's been very frustrating. Yeah, it's been very frustrating seeing all these people not being able to pay attention to what's really important, which is this case, not who Byron Allen decides to marry or sleep with.
Turn down your background.
Oh, sorry. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I
think I got it turned off.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Yeah, so I found it frustrating because all these people are too busy focusing on Byron Allen, but as we keep saying about him, this is a us, and this court case is important for all of us. People would focus on that.
No, I agree. It's about the law. Just focus on the law. Don't focus on, like, we should have learned from Obama, like, not to focus on who you're married to, because we focused on who Obama was married to, and we was like, he with Michelle, and she used real gel on her hair. She's a real negress from Chicago. We're gonna get it done, and nothing happened. So just focus on the law,
exactly.
The law that he's using. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah, and exactly. And then we talked about Obama being married to Michelle, but how many other black women did he date before he married Michelle?
0.
So I'm gonna get off of this because I gotta go back to being a slave, but I just had to call in. So y'all have a good night.
Best of luck and Godspeed, fam. We all gotta do what we gotta do. I totally understand. No shame in your game. I appreciate you calling in. We all got to do what we got to do. We could all end up a lot of different places. Just know that. But yeah, you can't focus on that. You gotta focus on the law. This is a very important law. Forget everything else. Jesus, I had never seen people get so caught up on like we used to. His wife would do. Shut up. 240, what's going on?
Sister Yvette, what's going on? This is Rob from the DMV.
What's going on, Rob?
I never call you back to back like this, sis, but this is important.
Okay.
I'm not sure. You know what? What's been done under the sun has already been done. It's nothing new. So one of the things I wanted to bring up to you was the Upton Sinclair book, The Jungle. He wrote it in 1906. And at that point in time, if anybody's ever read the story, it's talking about a Lithuanian immigrant that immigrated to the United States in the early 1900s, and there were all kinds that forced them into the meatpacking district. This is the parallel. It's dealing with meat. But in that case, it was like they didn't have any kind of protections. They were forcing kids into labor, so the whole family had to work. Kids were getting fingers chopped off and they in the meat grinders, and they would keep on going, keep on working with it, because who is going to report something if they knew that they would be getting fired and their whole family would get fired? So one of the things that we really have to look at is, you're absolutely right, without the government protection for us and for those workers, the ADOS workers that are in these plants, then we have nothing. We need the Urban League, we need the NAACP, we need the Black Lawyers Association, we need everybody in to push for our goals and for what we need. That's all I needed to say. But check it out. That's the book right there, The Jungle by Upton Sinclair.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't it mentioned in that Atlantic article. Did you read it?
I didn't read the Atlantic article.
Okay.
I read the Jungle back in school.
But I think, you know what? I think it was mentioned in that Atlantic article. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think they made it.
We're getting on the same cylinders.
Yep.
And we need to keep being muckrackers like that and bringing up where the government is doing people wrong and keep showing. So do what you're doing, since we're making things happen over here at ADOS.
All right, fam. As always, Roz, I appreciate your call. Thank you for calling in. Yeah, it was. They mentioned it, so it kind of goes hand in hand. I am going now to 213. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Ben, how's it going? My name is Jay. I'm going to use that name, and I'm calling from Baltimore. And the reason I'm going to use that name, we've actually talked on Twitter, inbox about my Bet Black project.
Okay.
So I'm waiting to hear back from you on that. But the things I'm going to share, I have to be anonymous.
Okay.
I have some very powerful friends who are in media. Some black folks who are trying to, get their own channel going and get into movies and everything. And one of my friends, he's actually very close to Bob Johnson. And he pretty much, during one of our conversations, gave me the skinny on what went down with that. Not only was Bob Johnson forced to sell BET by Viacom, but he was forced to sell it under duress in the fact that they threatened to not only take his company but kill him.
I can't get into that, fam. I'm not saying that you're wrong, fam, but fam, you done went too far. We're not gonna do murders. We're not gonna do none of that. We're not gonna do none of that. I can't do it, fam. This is YouTube. This is not us together having a conversation. This is not us together, grouped together somewhere where ain't nobody listening. This is YouTube. Please be cognizant of that when you call. Even if it's the truth, this is not the place to broadcast it. Thank you. I am going now to 424. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. This is Kim from Vegas.
What's going on?
Hello? Hi. I just wanted to, you said you wanted to hear our thoughts and everything,
yeah, sure,
so I thought
ahead.
I would chime in. About the Byron Allen thing, I remember you talking about it like a while back. Actually, Tone was talking about it too.
Yeah.
And at the time when I first heard about Byron Allen, I was like looking at him side eyes because I'm like, okay, Byron Allen, he's trying to use like the race card on this. And then I remember I called in and to your show, and you were kind of like, kind of breaking it down, like this is bigger than Byron Allen. And I kind of was like, okay, I'm kind of getting it. And tonight, you really you broke everything down, so it's very clear. But I think the reason why people are kind of like giving him the stop, talking about who he's married to, it's more like he's like that black guy that you go to school with or you work with that doesn't have any black friends, doesn't want to associate with any black people. You know what I'm saying? That really distance themselves from black people. So to have that kind of guy.
But then Byron, but even with that, didn't Byron like host a BET show? Like I don't know. I don't know about that. But I'm just saying, like, he's been on BET or whatever. He might not be. Maybe you think I don't know. Go ahead, Carl. I'm sorry.
It's not just because, because there are a lot of, black guys that talk the talk, but who they end up with is not a black woman, okay? So, you know what I mean? So there are a lot of black people, black guys that date white women, whether they talk the talk or not. But Byron strikes me as a person. I'm from LA. I was, from LA. I'm not, I'm a few years younger than Byron, so I remember Byron Allen, like back in the day.
I remember him as a comedian back in the day. I remember Byron Allen.
Around the black community.
I'm sorry? I didn't hear the last part I was talking.
Yeah, he was not the kind of guy that you would be seeing around the black community, like going into the community, helping the community. He wasn't about that. So when people give him the side eye, it's not just because he has a white wife. So that was one thing that I wanted to make clear. But I do understand. I understand it very clear, now that this suit is more than Byron Allen because, like you said, he's going to be okay. You know what I mean? But when I first heard of it, I was like, how dare he pull the race card when he doesn't even he distances himself from the black community. So I was a little taken aback when I first heard about it.
I don't know that. Like, I think, I don't know. I've talked to Byron. I don't know if you have. Like, the thing is, I don't think that he's that, like, I think Byron is a guy, like a straight-laced, articulate guy who was moving under the radar. So I'm not going to do things that are going to bring me attention in the radar. I don't, even when I remember him from BET and I remember Byron all the way back from his comic stand-ups. I don't necessarily see him as the man that you're describing, and he's not the man that I've spoken to. But what I will say is that I think some of this is projection, right? I think we project a lot on black men who marry white. And I don't, and my whole point is that doesn't matter. Like none of y'all know him, but that doesn't matter here anyway. Like even if he was the worst kind of person, the thing that matters here is that law. That law is what matters to us. Right? Like I don't see the person that you've seen. I spoke to him, I don't see the person that you've seen.
Right.
But the thing that matters is the law.
Right, and I understand that clearly now, but I still go back to what I say is that he's not the part, and I understand some people are just not built like that, like he's undercover, but still what I say is, like, look at his shows, like he has that comic Unleash, and he sprinkles a few black comics in there, but I'm not impressed with, his body of work,
why do we need
shows that he has.
But why do we need you to be impressed? Like, why do I have to be impressed? Like, see, the problem. Let me just finish. I'm gonna let you finish. The problem is, like, you'll call here, and I'm not saying you individually, but maybe so. You'll have people who call here and will shop at Whole Foods all the time, and then be like, "Well, Byron Allen isn't black enough." You ain't either. Like, in terms of the estimation of that. The problem is I don't like whatever he does with Comics Unleashed. Like, this is a product, that's a commodity, and this is not the time to talk about how he does business. The problem is, like, what are we gonna do with this slave law? Is this slave law going to be narrowed, or is it going to be left alone? I would wish it would be broadened, but at least we need it left alone. All this other stuff is not. This is not a law. This is not. Byron is not going to court just for Biden because he used that law. So the law that he's using, that slave law, that Reconstruction era law that the Trump administration is trying to gut, that's what I'm talking about. That is the key here.
Right, and I understand that, but here's where I disagree. When you say that law, to me, he's using it for Byron. Yes, we are going to benefit from it, but Byron is using that law for Byron. That's how I see it. And then the other part of that is...
But how do you say we're going to benefit from it? If we're going to benefit from it, like, what are you talking about? Like, if we're going to, like, if your protection, like, understand this is the Civil Rights Act of, like, 1866. If that Civil Rights Act was about us. He's bringing a lawsuit which uses a part of that act, and the Trump administration is trying to gut that. At that point, like, for me, and I think for everybody, it should be like there are no more conversations to be had. This is about that law. Now, if once this whole thing is over, if you want to be mad at Byron about whatever, that's on y'all. But I'm talking about this law. I'm always about the collective. I'm not about the individual. This law is important. Both of our Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act, when we talk about King, and the one before it, that a lot of people don't know about it, this is important stuff.
Right, and like I said, I totally agree. I mean, from when I called the last time, when you first started talking about it, I understood what you're saying. And tonight, you just... you nailed it for me. But what I'm trying to say is if people give him the side, it's kind of like there's a reason why they give him the side eye.
We ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for that, though. We ain't got time for that right now. You can give him the side eye after this is over with. We ain't got time for that right now. We ain't got time. After this is over with and we figure out whether or not we're going to protect this law or not, then you can do that. Like, we got to know when to go into certain phases. This is the phase where you go into, like, this is a Reconstruction era law. I got to protect this law for my people. You can do that stuff later. Like, I don't care about your eyes. I don't care about people's eyes. I don't care about the side eye. I don't care about this stuff people do. Like, well, I understand why they mad. You can't be mad right now, though. Right now, you got to be like, this law is important. And then you do it. After that's over, you be like, well, I can't understand. Okay, but, like, you got to know when to coalesce as a group and get stuff done and when to fall back. Like, that's what has to happen.
Right. And I hope that, I want this to happen for us. Make no mistake, I want it to happen for us. But it's kind of like I was saying, there's a reason. It's kind of like he's not the one. He's not, out of all the black people that should have this,
You're looking for, but wait a minute.
He was the chosen one.
Wait a minute, you're looking for a perfect person to be in this space. You don't get to do that. You don't get to.
He's not the one.
But you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. You're a poor Negro. You don't get to find the perfect. The perfect ain't what we look for. We find the one. See, listen, there's nobody else who's in that space who has enough money to file this lawsuit. So it's not going to happen again. Nobody else is going to file this lawsuit. Byron is the only one with the money to actually go to battle for this. So ain't nobody else going to do it. If you're looking for perfect, you just going to be stuck on some stupid stuff. There is no perfect person for this. There is a man who has 100% on black business, and he has the money to litigate, right? And that is what he is litigating on behalf of is something that we should support. You got to learn to throw the stupid stuff away, at least for the moment. It's kind of like if you out, it's a bad analogy, but if you out with your partner or spouse, wife, husband, and y'all are doing something, you don't throw a fight in the middle of dinner, or if something happens and the house is on fire, you don't say, well, let me finish this fight. You put out that fire. You go put out that fire, and then you deal with whatever business y'all had. We got to put this fire out. It's not the time to talk about, well, he's not the one. That's just a way for you to fence straddle. Because you don't feel like, well, I wish it was somebody else.
Wait a minute, you said what?
That's a way for you. That's a way for you to fence straddle. Because, well, I wish it was somebody else. And, he just got problems, and the white wife, and he don't do his business right, and he don't hire enough black people. I don't care about that. What about the law?
Right. Well, no. Like I said, I have put that aside as far as him winning the court case, because I definitely know that this is bigger than him. Like I said before, I didn't realize it, but now I do. But I'm just saying that there's a reason why people are like, God, he's the one that's got to, bring this suit. You know what I mean? Like, God, it's kind of like OJ. Like, everybody was happy that, well, not everybody, but if people were happy that OJ got off, it's kind of like, dang, OJ's the one, the one that gets out of the black community. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but there's a reason why people are like, God. You know what I mean?
Hold on 1 second, caller. Hold on 1 second, caller. You there, Antonio? You live?
Hey, what up? This Tom Talks. I wanted to have. Let me ask you.
She's still. Hold on. She's still on the line.
She's still. I know she's still. Yeah, I'm gonna ask her a question. Where do you live?
Yeah, I'm still here. It's nice to talk to you as well.
Yeah, because you. I just want to know where you live in LA. Just you.
I'm from the what? Generally,
where you live? Where?
Oh, I'm not in LA now, but I was born and raised Leimert Park area, and you're from LA, I know, so you know the Leimert Park area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was
Whole Foods or Food for Less? Food for Less. So I need to know, because it's like what's happening right now is that we're putting an assessment on Byron that we don't put on Jay-Z. And so we're really happy that Jay-Z is with Beyonce. Two people that didn't graduate from high school, that done sold us anklets, that done sold us Uber, that done sold us everything that's bad in America. And so because they look good and we like their concert and they remind us of college, we'd rather it would have been them. But what we don't understand is the levels to wealth. See, I'm not talking from guessing, and I'm not doing this to defend Byron. Wealth ain't flat. And I'm saying to you right now, we probably talking about one of the 3 richest black people in America, bar few. Go check the asset. And so when I say that to you, there's nobody else that can bring it. There's nobody else that can bring this lawsuit. And I don't know if we really understand the limitations of black wealth. And I'm talking.
No, I do. Listening to you and Yvette, I definitely do.
No, but let me finish. You can't call in and say, because you derailed the conversation. So you can't at the same time. And when I say you derailed it, you're on the fence about your own position. You're saying that you understand what she said, while at the same time saying that you still wish it was somebody else. Is that somebody else Jay-Z? Who is it?
No.
Who did it? Who do you wish? Maxwell? Who do you wish would have brought this lawsuit?
I wish there was somebody that was steeped into the black community. That's what I wish. But unfortunately, we don't have anybody.
Yeah. So you're talking about fantasy. We can't deal in fantasy. Look, this lawsuit should have been brought by the Urban League. And the NAACP.
Right.
But you know who's on the board of the Urban League? Comcast. I'm not here to be Byron's friend. I'd rather have a black community. I'm saying to you, what I find in LA, this is me. bar view is that a lot of black people that really like being in Redondo Beach and like being away from other black folks will say, well, why Byron away from black folks? If you had $1 billion, would you still be around black folks? And I'm not saying you individually.
Right.
Everybody's putting a judgment on him that they would take as an out too if they were worth $1 billion. And I'm saying to you now, let's back up. I'm not even dealing with Byron right now. On the thing was the Civil Rights Act of 1866. At the same time, we got Jay-Z talking about some PR stuff with the NFL. That's irrelevant. See, I don't even think we understand. I think part of it, again, is that we think there's middle-class blacks and then rich blacks. No, there's owners, there's these celebrities, there's black people that are working poor. That's what we got in this race. Oh, and there's a retiree somewhere in between that. A selection of them. And so what's going on right now is that a lot of us that have never been in those rooms, that have never had those discussions, are interjecting our working poor reality onto a larger discussion that we've been in the middle of. And I don't know, I guess the reason why I'm kind of calling in is to frame this discussion in a way where, because I asked the question last show, and it was in the context of the young woman that did the 1619 Project. If we care about somebody being married to a white woman, do we care if the mama white? If we go, me and you know me in the next position, we've been open-minded with it. But I'll hear a black woman call in and tell me about somebody who got a white that's white, but the mama white or the daddy white, and y'all don't really even bring that up at all, Tracy Silverstein. I'm saying to you, is this a really convicted position, or is it something else going on that's emotional? Because we ain't got time for emotion. This lawsuit took millions to bring. First. Second, it takes the willingness to risk it all, because if you lose, you blackball. That's the way this lawsuit is. Understand that only one celebrity that I saw even retweeted this. Let's line this up. Let's line this up. The 400th anniversary, one of the wealthiest black men in America is suing Comcast for $20 billion because of a slave law. And don't nobody cover it in the news. And don't no black celebrities retweet it. So instead of attacking the one person who put up millions to actually litigate the lawsuit, we should be asking the question, where are the rest of the black celebrities that you love so long, like Oprah? We loved her. Where is she? He said nothing. Where's Obama? Where is Obama? We put his pictures up and did all this stuff. Where's he at?
And I'm with you. I'm disappointed in Oprah, Obama. I'm disappointed. I'm not a Jay-Z fan. I'm not a Beyonce fan. I'm with you on that. But I still go back to your call.
Let her finish, Tom. What she said?
Your call was about him.
Yeah, because he was bringing the suit. I'm not a Beyonce and Jay-Z
the lawsuit.
fan. Huh?
We all bringing the lawsuit, though. He's just putting up the money. That's what we're trying to tell y'all. See, me and Yvette are having to be the face of what other people. You pay the Urban League, you pay the NAACP with they are selling you as activism, and that's how they get their check. Like Jay-Z wasn't in the room with the NFL for himself. He was gonna sell like that he can galvanize black people. We don't get that money, but we the face of what is supposed to happen. That's what I said about the 1619 Project. I'm saying to you, the work of the 1619 Project is now, when they offered Nicole, Ida Bay Wells girl to come on MSNBC, her and the other writers should have put out a press release. You guys are in the middle of a litigation about black ownership in the slave law. We're not coming on your channel because of that. That's the work. See, that's the work. And I'm not a journalist. Yvette's not a journalist. Byron isn't my friend, but that law is my law, and it's your law. And right now, you're saying that you're not thinking about Byron, but all you think about is Byron, and I think a lot of it is because we've been so mired in thinking that our individual opinions matter when they don't. What you think, Zed?
Well, and here's what I say. This is what I'll say to the caller. What the problem is like when you figure out, like you said, and I hear you, caller. You said that, like, well, I agree with you, Yvette. I realize that this law matters more. Once you realize that, you can't say, but I understand why other people feel how they feel about Byron. You have to be like all the way over here now. Like, this is the law that matters. You can't say that no more. Like, they don't get to say that anymore. They're too poor to say that. They're too locked out to say that. To say that they feel that way. This law, like Antonio just said, is their law. And so I'm not trying to like attack you in any way. But I want you to understand, I want you to really understand that once you say, like, I hear you, Yvette, and I agree with you, then you can't say what you said to those people that you understand them, because you can't, there's no space to understand them now. They're in the wrong place.
And I'll add one more point. We all have to be honest about when we say, and I think that was poignant when you said, just not him. Well, instead of just not him, who's this other person? And if you don't have another person, you're saying that we shouldn't defend the law. You might not think you're saying that, but that's what effectively you're saying. Because at the end of the day, it has to be him, because he's the only one with enough wealth and 100% ownership of things like, not just the Weather Channel. Go look up the catalog in the last 3 years. I don't know what this man's worth, but Forbes ain't got it. I'll tell you that. You can look it up yourself. I think it's a several billion. And I'm saying to you, no, Jay-Z is ace of spades. Forbes put his stuff out. It was ace of spades was half the money. 10% was Uber, and we saw, like, it was all air. We talking about there's nobody with the amount of wealth and self-ownership. Before we even get to the Weather Channel, we're talking about a guy that has one of the largest catalogs of privately owned wealth, of privately owned content in Hollywood, regardless of race. And I'm saying that not to big up him, because I'm saying it because our minds, the way we've been socialized, and I'm not saying you, I'm talking about all of us as black folks, is we look at through the lens of like rap and basketball. Those people are workers for other people. What we're talking about is a man who has set up a model, and let's be clear of what that model was before we even got to the Weather Channel. What we're talking about is Shonda Rhimes, Lee Daniels, they make a show for a channel, just like the girl made the New York Times article. She don't own that article and the content. Then they get paid a check and they're finished. But the content is owned by New York Times, or the content is owned by the channel. What Byron does, and he owns a lot of the court TV shows, the black ones that you see in the middle of the day. He told them, I'll make the show. I'll take the risk. I'll get my money from the ads and the check comes to me. The movie 47 Meters Down, that's in the theaters right now, Byron puts that in the theaters and the checks come to him. Not to a studio, and then the studio does all kind of weird accounting. It comes to him. And I'm saying that black folks, all of us should have access to be able to ask the questions of why don't we have that. Let's even be clear. When Yvette brought up, and I love this call in the sense it's a learning lesson for everybody. When Yvette brought up the chicken, what we got to understand is that cable is the same way. What happened here is that we, as black folks, owned land and communities, and we had licenses to do our own cable line. They wouldn't loan us the money, so we were forced to sell to Comcast. Then Comcast went out and got loans at lower interest than we could get, and they cable-lined our community. So now they collect $20 billion in subscriber fees from us, because they're all through our communities. We're like 30-40% of the consumer base. So you collect that much subscriber money, just subscriber money. Then the ad dollars is another couple billion, and you do $20 million in ads with all African American business. That's it. That's nothing. See, where that feeds into is that nobody can hire you to do hair for their show. Byron can't even grow his channel to do black content because there is no black media, because Comcast has made a choice to lock us out. It all feeds together. And I come back to just the whole thing about the white. I'm not saying whether you have that conviction. You have every right to have the convictions you have. My thing is, I don't know if y'all have it for somebody that got a white mama. And I'm not saying it's right. I don't believe that's right, personally, whether it's the white wife or the white mama. But if you are going to say it about somebody that got a white wife, you damn sure got to say it about somebody that got a white mama, because they're a reflection of white privilege, whether it's inheritance, of culture, wealth, everything else. Now, I'm not saying what you're going to do with it, but it can't be scattered. Right now, what I'm saying is it's got to be focused. And I'm saying what I'm going to do is a two-part show. On Friday, it's going to be an anniversary show of the 400. We're going to talk about this lawsuit more generally, so y'all can call in, give your feelings. We're going to talk about the fact that the Urban League has Comcast on the board and lay out some of the information about how Sharpton taking money. Then on the 30th, I'm going to try to have Byron on for the full hour to give his just straight up take on it, because a lot of us is just talking. I don't want to take up the line, but I just want to get in here. Thank you.
No, appreciate it. I appreciate it, caller. And I want you to I want you to understand that I think this was a very important call. I know you didn't anticipate being on with Antonio, but I think that was one of the best exchanges I've heard in a long time. Like in terms of what was fleshed out during that exchange, right? In terms of what was fleshed out during that exchange, because you're trying to go the right way. Like, I get that from you. You're trying to go in a good direction. And you're kind of being pulled back and you're saying, but I still understand this. And I feel like what Antonio did when he called in is say, like, this is exactly why you shouldn't go back. Like, once you get over here, you hear, and you can't go back to these other people and say, but I understand who they are. Because of how much this matter and about how much weight this has. You know, and I appreciate you being a nimble and good sport in terms of this conversation. You know,
this was a treat to speak with both of you, so I really appreciate the time. I do.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Like I'm so good. I got ambushed. No, it was a really good exchange. I don't think
it's all good, Yvette.
No, unless you go back and listen to it, I don't think you understand how really good that exchange was and how much you fleshed out. And I think it's a teachable and learning moment for everybody. So I want to thank you for that. You were a really good sport. So thank you.
No problem. I'm the girl that I was telling you about. I was in the salon and they would gang up on me. So I'm used to
fight. Yeah, you used to fight. You said like when you would talk about the stuff that we talk about on this show, like they would jump you. Basically, that's another way to put it.
Right, exactly. But I won't take up any more time. I know you have other callers.
No problem. No problem.
You and Tom, so
no problem. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a good call. I'm gonna start merging people more often. Yeah, but I think that was a very good moment because that's what happens. Like you kind of over here and you're really over here, Yvette. I understand you, but I understand this as well. And what we're trying to do is get you all the way over here. Like you black, but you kind of you got a pinky toe in the gray, and you kind of understand the white a little bit. And we're just trying to get you all the way over in this lane. So that was a great call, and I appreciate Tone and her, and it was really good. I'm going now to 214. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
What's going on?
Hi, Yvette.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I love this part about the 1866 and the 14th Amendment. And Byron, I don't care who he's married to as long as he's woke now. I have waited for this moment forever. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
2003, my cousin Roy Beal was lynched in Woodville, Mississippi, and it was behind property. When I see someone taking civil rights and the 14th Amendment, I've waited for this moment all my life. I'm so excited because I know reparations and slavery is at stake, and I love this moment. I love the part of where I know that with the 1866 and the 14th Amendment, that if the Supreme Court justice even goes against this law, they can be removed. The president can even be locked up. We have such an advantage. This is so beautiful. I remember I had a teacher at Southeast High. Her name was Mrs. Roundtree. We had African American studies. She's the one that enlightened me with the 1866 and the 14th Amendment and how it protects our people. I just don't know how come everyone's not so excited about this moment. It's so exciting to me. It's so beautiful that we're even going to the Supreme Court. Do you realize if they go against the Constitution, that they can be locked up? This is great. And that's it. Yvette, I'm just so excited right now. And November 16th, Byron Allen, Comcast. Oh, I also want to make this mention too.
Okay.
I did call and talk to Comcast and told them they need to drop the case. I did call the Urban League and the NAACP, and I told them that they need to get up off their ass. And that's it.
Appreciate it, fam.
Let you go on and talk to everybody else. Love y'all.
You done got activated, fam. And thank you. No, thank you. You out here activated, calling people, doing your thing. Thank you. Thank you. And listen, understand why we're here. We're only here. Like the Supreme Court shouldn't have even really agreed. That's how I know it's some backdoor dealings. The Supreme Court really shouldn't have even like agreed to hear this case. We're only here because like Comcast lost. They lost. Like in Ninth Circuit, they lost to Byron Allen. And so like you get to take that to the Supreme Court and it's really clear like why you lost. We know why you lost. It's clear. You should have lost. Comcast is just being sore losers and just trying to take down. They lost. So it's always this thing that people say, well, you just gotta do it, and if you win, you win. No, they don't play that way. They don't play that way. If you win, you win. Nah, if you win, Trump's in there, I got my peoples in there, I'm gonna make some calls and we're gonna get him shut down and we're gonna get everybody to come after him shut down. That's how they work. I don't know how we work. We obviously we mixed up and muddled up and a lot of stuff. 617, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, it's Reggie. What's going on?
What's going on, Reggie?
Hey, listen, I've been watching this conversation, and honestly, it's been getting kind of frustrating, to be honest with you. And I'm just going to say it like this. I am starting to lose patience with a certain segment of black women who are trying to work out their frustration with the lack of available and affluent black males on the political stage. I am also equally tired of black men trying to armchair quarterback and try to work out their frustrations that they cannot be a super capitalist or CEO and trying to work that out through politics. Everybody is out here showing their personal issues and trying to work that out as group politics. It is not about you. Byron Allen has a white wife. I do not care. Is he Democrat or Republican? Is he liberal or conservative? Is he for capitalism or for socialism? Is he even for reparations or not? I do not care. What is at issue here is the Supreme Court's interpretation of the first civil rights legislation in this country. If you are not focused on that and the implications of whatever decision the Supreme Court hands down, you do not get to talk to me. Get out of your feelings and get focused. And even if Byron Allen has, personal has a personal agenda or he wants to get rich or whatever, you know what? That's fine. If Byron wins and he can have all of that $20 billion. Comcast can give him all the channels because you know what? ADOS is coming right back to get reparations, and we get one of the ways we get reparations in terms of funding is taxing the rich. So Byron Allen, go ahead and get that money. I'll come get it anyway through reparations. Y'all need to be strategic. Think about the end game. Y'all got to stop getting all in your feelings. And I really don't think we understand when we try to draw this Republican, Democrat binary, this liberal, conservative binary. Understand, and you said this on the last show, and I'm so glad you said it. Trump's Department of Justice is backing Comcast, which owns NBC. Now, just go through the line. Look at everything that Trump has said about MSNBC, everything he has said about the left. It's like he can't stand them. He says they're the enemy of the people. This is fake news. They should be fired. But behind the curtain, he is propping up white capital. And understand that Fox News is not saying anything either. Because they don't want this to happen either. You would think that Fox News would want to just jump out the window and throw shots at NBC. Because they love to say, oh, they're coming after black conservatives, which Byron Allen kind of projects himself to be. They come after the black Republicans. This is the racist hypocrisy of the left. Like, that is news fodder for Fox News. But they don't want Byron Allen here either. What we don't understand is that there is a bipartisan coalition to uphold white supremacy and white capital.
Yep.
This is about the case and how it is interpreted. And this has implications not only for how that law is interpreted, because you have to look at the history of the case law in terms of affirmative action, in terms of civil rights. When you look at how they interpret affirmative action in terms of college admissions and other places, some of the cases that you see, just go look through the case law. What you have white people, you have Hispanics coming up and using the Civil Rights Act of '64, have them using the 14th Amendment to undermine black people, to undermine the descendants of slaves, the very people that legislation was written for. And all of that is happening at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is chipping away at our rights, chipping away. And now, and like you said, it's not a mistake that the Supreme Court wants to hear this. Comcast lost at the Ninth Circuit, so they kick it up to the Supreme Court, a conservative court, which will likely rule against it. And in terms of how they're narrowing interpretations in some spaces and expanding it in others, when you look at the affirmative action cases, what they do and what I saw when I went and looked into the cases is that they did not talk about justice. They talked about diversity. One of the things I saw was they were talking about how diversity is a compelling interest. Now, again, understand, when the nation sets a precedent, whether it's through legislation, whether it's through the executive branch, or whether it's through the judicial branch, it sends shockwaves that go through the private sector. Look no further than the FHA during redlining. FHA says, split the blacks and whites up, give the whites loans, don't give the black people loans, and it sends shockwaves throughout the private sector. So when the Supreme Court talks about diversity, understand that is how the private sector is operating. Even when Comcast themselves responded to the lawsuit, they talked about their commitment to diversity, but they did not talk about their commitment to the economic inclusion of the people that were formerly enslaved in this country. And if you look at people like in MSNBC, they talk about how diverse they are, and they notice they always want to talk about the Supreme Court like they're rolling back voting rights. They show up for voting rights because, like Professor Eddie Glaude said in a talk, we are a captured electorate. I guarantee you that if we were not a captured electorate, you would not hear a peep from MSNBC on voter suppression or the way that they are packing the Supreme Court. You absolutely would not hear that. It's a scam on the left and the right. They're talking about diversity. They are not talking about justice. They are not talking about repair for the descendants of slaves. So I really need y'all to get out of your feelings. Focus. This is about the law and how it's being interpreted. Yeah. Like, if you can't focus on that, then I'm sorry. You can't talk to me.
Yeah, you're going to ruin
I got, Yvette.
Thank you, Reg. As always, I appreciate it. But not only that, if you can't focus on that, you're going to ruin us. You're going to ruin us as a group. Like, you're going to ruin us. Like we don't have the luxury of being like, well, like, maybe not him. Like, no, this is him. Like, ain't nobody else got the money to bring this. So it's got to be him. And I don't even in this country, I don't even see why all black billionaires aren't uniting. I don't see why Oprah and Robert F., whatever his name is, and I mean the guy who gave the money to the Morehouse and all. This should be a moment like I don't even know. Like I don't even know why this isn't making news. That's how you know that like they're stuck in a certain narrative. The fact that this isn't even making news. How is this not making news? I saw somebody, Reggie said, I don't care about his wife. Somebody in the chat said, I do care. You can't care in this context. You have every right to say, if it is your belief, that ADOS should date ADOS, or the black people should date black people. That's totally within your right. Totally within your right. You are not wrong if that is your decision. You are not wrong, and I am not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying in this political context, because that's part of the problem. Y'all don't know when to separate politics from the personal. The personal in terms of, I feel, in terms of your ethics and who you choose to marry, I totally understand. You say, you know what, I'm not down with it, and I really wish people wouldn't down with it. I think it is, somebody told me, I think it is a revolutionary act when a black person dates a black person and they marry, because of everything that keeps us apart. I think that's beautiful. I'm telling you though, right now, this is a political moment. This is a political moment, a legal moment. This is not that moment for you to have that conversation with yourself. You got to move out of that moment right now. We're doing something different. After we win or whatever, you can come back into your moment and cast your judgments or whatever. This is not that moment. We're trying to do something bigger. And if we maintain the laws that we maintain, that'll help all black families, little black families and husbands and partners and wives and little black babies, all of that. Everything that you do, you have to understand the context of the moment in which you're doing it. This is a political and legal context. It's a collective it is not a context of that right now. Different context. It's not that you're wrong. It's not that you shouldn't support black love. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in this context, this is about business, baby. This ain't about that right now. We're not at that right now. You can judge that after this is over with. And I won't bother you at all. You have every right to support black love and all its incarnations. I will not bother you. But this is a political context. It's a different world. You need to support this context. In this context. It's not that you're wrong. You're just wrong in this context. So I'm going to 510. 510, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette?
Yeah. What's going on?
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to speak on the farming. You know, a lot of people don't realize I come from a farming background. My grandfather was a farmer. My great-grandfather was a farmer. My mother was a sharecropper. And my mother and them would talk about how many a times my grandfather had to fight people from them cheating him and cheating him out of his money and cheating him out of a fair, pricing him out. So a lot of people, we got to understand that we are locked out. We are locked out. They've been trying to lock us out. And the lockout is getting more severe now, especially with everything going online and going towards automation. So we do have to start pushing towards changing policies and putting certain policies into place for us as a people. It's about policy and about removing people from office and putting the right people in office. Right now, it's not a matter of who's sleeping with what and who's laying down with who. That is something they have to deal with behind their closed doors. This is about a generation of people that have been placed into slavery and have been kept into slavery, and no one wants to fight to get us out. So we're fighting now to get our own selves out of this slavery. So it is very serious, especially with America bringing over immigrants and immigrants voluntarily coming over here and consenting to the debt that our country has. You know, we are non-consenters of the debt because we were forced here in this country. So it is critical for us to understand the laws that were placed in to protect us and to keep us protected and to bring us back up to a level of wholeness like you speak on all the time. So that is what I have to share. As far as Byron Allen, I have went over that Constitution, and I have also set up me an Instagram called Constitution Black, posting some of the things from your show. And I'll be putting some things from Tone Talk for us to start going back to our Constitution and going back to us as being locked out of citizenship in the United States of America. All right?
Yeah.
I started cooking while you guys were debating, so I kind of had some other things to talk about, but I'll catch up with you guys.
All right, no problem, no problem.
Another time, okay?
What you cooking?
All right.
What you cooking?
I'm making some. Ground turkey with spinach with a little cream of mushroom over it, and we'll have some rice with it. Some basmati rice.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay, I like basmati. It's better than jasmine.
Yes, I love basmati. Yeah, but I'm.
All right, fam.
Good work, and just trying to keep everybody focused.
I know.
Focus on the real issue.
She goes,
all right.
Real issue. I appreciate you, fam. Thank you so much.
And I'm from Oakland. I'm out of Oakland, California.
Okay.
Home of the Panthers. Okay.
All right, fam. I appreciate
care.
it. Thank you. All right, fam. We are going to the next call. We are going to that was healthy. We are going to 917. 917. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Sticks from Brooklyn.
What's going on,
How are you,
Sticks?
Yvette?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
Is that your real name? Like not your real like name. I know that's not the name your mama gave you. But is that your real like the name people call you? Sticks?
No, that's what I call myself. That's what I tell everyone else to tell me.
Okay.
Well, last night I went to the immigration meeting at Brooklyn College, and I didn't get a chance to talk to Yvette Clark, but I did talk to someone else who's an advocate for immigration. One of the things that he did say is that every person that comes into the country has a right to a trial. And I went up to him after all of the questions and answers, and I told him, I said, do you mean to tell me that doesn't matter if someone is illegal or whatever have you, the criminally minded, that they deserve to be in the country? Because yes, but they all deserve to have a trial. And I said, I don't think that's the case. And I said, well, look at the case of the persons that were at the poultry farm, and there was like 600 illegal immigrants and so forth. And I said, well, we have people who are trying to get jobs, and they're going to hire these people who are working for like $2. And it comes back to, I guess, like a trying to do a open mind trick. And says, well, they hire from $2, and if you're not doing a good job, then you're going to fire that person. And I said, well, yeah, but then that person, if that company is going to hire another person for $2, and that person is trying to work for $5, is going to be shut out. He said, well, yeah, but that has no effect on the people. Don't pay no attention to that. There's people just trying to twist it and turn. I said, well, I don't exactly agree with you about that, because you have people who are out of work and who need work. But he still was on that whole thing. That was one point I wanted to make. And the other point is, I don't know if anybody saw it where you see where they loading ice comes in and pick up people and they put them in the van. You see all these black people around them. He's an advocate for sanctuary city. And what they do is they have a buddy system. So what they have is people who are citizens, and what they do is if ICE comes to their door, they call on the citizens, and then they have like a buddy system, and then they try to intimidate ICE so that these people will not be loaded into vans and so forth. So that's one of the things that they have. And also with that, they're trying to get where we said in the past that they had red doors on the churches so that you know that you could run to a church and you will have essentially sanctuary. So they're trying to put that out to all of the businesses also, so that you can go to businesses and you will be safe from pirates and so forth if you're a legal immigrant or undocumented immigrant. So those 2 points I wanted to make. And another thing is, they pointed out that the city is hiring, so that right there is $25 an hour. So anybody who's listening, I would suggest that you go to the census and try to apply for those jobs. You can work daytime, part-time, nighttime. This way you can have some extra income if you have a job, or if you don't have a job. That would be when you are coming in.
All right, fam, I appreciate it. I want to thank you for calling in. We're going to go to the lightning round because we're almost at the 2-hour mark. Let's try to keep your call to a minute or less, fam. A minute or less. Let's see if you can do it. I don't know that you can. But you got to. I'm going to cut you off. So let's go to, I'm going to 404 now. 404, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, this
is Dawn from Atlanta. How you doing, Yvette, tonight, and everyone?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, hey, how's it going? I haven't called in a while, and I wanted to add some more examples to the lockout.
Okay.
I love the whole story around the farmers and really talking about, because so many people, I'm in Atlanta, you're in the Atlanta area, and you know it's all about your hustle and the gig economy, and people are driving Uber, they're doing a little bit of everything, and they're still not quite making it. And they think if they just work a little harder, it'll come to them. And I think they need to step back and really kind of understand what's happening to them in so many different ways. So other ways, when I talk to people, so I've called in and I've talked about the fact that I really am a big public education advocate. And so in the public education school, and so specifically in Atlanta Public Schools, I'm in the city of Atlanta, and that's another way they're locking us out. It's through public education. More and more, they're trying to shut down the schools. They're trying to move everything to more charter schools, where they're going to be really strict in what you can and can't do and how you come into the schools. Anyway, long story short, I can't remember if you're a big supporter of charter schools, but I'm not. And we've seen the absolute decimation of our cluster schools in Southwest Atlanta. And so we've been really fighting, and actually all over the city of Atlanta. But I just wanted to add, and I don't know if you ever will do a show about that, but there are so many different areas. So the harder you hustle, you think, hey, this is my end through business, they can still shut you down.
Yeah.
When it comes to education, slowly but surely they are eroding your ability to get your foundation. And if you don't have that foundation, we can say all day long about you can do whatever you want. If you can't read, if you can't articulate, if you can't write, you can't communicate, I'm sorry, you're not getting a job. I've seen it I work for a tech company. I literally see how people get pigeonholed. I worked at companies where they've had call-in centers, and people have degrees. Once you're in certain types of jobs, they won't bridge you over. Like, it's almost impossible for people to get in those kind of low-level, entry-level kind of call-in centers. What do they call it? Yeah, like the call centers. Even Uber, like I've advised so many people, take waitressing, you work at Starbucks, take a lot of that stuff off. You've got to find something that shows that this is a meaningful job or this is a good connection. Because typically when you get stuck in those customer service jobs, those type jobs, you get stuck. You get locked out.
No, you're right.
It's just interesting. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No.
Like, if we could talk more, like, in every specter, like, how people are getting locked out and they're not even given the opportunity to even advance. And I see that all the time.
I appreciate it, Carl. I want to thank you for calling in.
No problem.
I appreciate
Thank you.
As always. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate it. All right.
Okay, bye.
We're going to go to the next call. Lightning round, fam. We got to go through some real quick. 832, I'm coming to you. 832, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Yvette?
What's going on?
This Joe. Can you hear me?
You said this who?
You can hear
Joe Turkey. What you said? I can hear you.
This Junior.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from the 8th. I'm from Houston. So I just want to say much love to everybody in the chat and everybody that's not in the chat too. Much love to you and Tom and everybody for doing that thing. I know it's a lightning round. There's a lot I want to say, so but I'm not gonna say everything. But I seen the conversation shifting towards like political and what does like your relationship have to do with the political atmosphere. And I think we try to downplay it a little bit, but I think it actually has a lot to do with it. I mean, just looking at the time and age, because it's 2019 right now, and I was just looking at TV just randomly. I seen the girl who beat Serena Williams or something like that. She was 15, and they asked her something about a political type of question, and she said she wanted to do some political awareness as far as like helping something with psychoactive syndrome or something like that. But she was political, and it just seems like everything is political, even down to relationship. And if we really want to talk about politics, and what we're doing is we trying to get on the same wave as far as when it's time to vote, right? And we want to, and what we really what we pushing for, and I know you pushing for it too on the show, is like, hey, we can't vote for these Democratic folks who not giving us what we need. And so, if we're talking about politics, what are those Democratic folks doing? Well, if you watch what they're doing, they putting black women in front of the TV most of the time. And it's like, well, how they doing this? Well, you know, they put black women in front of the TV. Most, like, if you look at CNN, you see a lot of black, what do you call them, analysts, right? And they just, most of them is black women. I'm not saying you don't have any black men, but a lot of them is black women. And it's like, what are they really doing? They're really dividing us down the line as far as, like, the relationships between black men and black women. And so it is the relationship is politics nowadays. I think so when you look at how they take or how they trying to divide along the lines of gender, you can understand why they do it. You know, they want to offer a lot of programs to black women, right? And a lot of these programs for black women, what they do, like a lot of them, they make sure, right, it's some, I'm not going to call it weird, but it's all different types of programs that they have, but it's for single black women, or
I understand that lighting around no fam.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
okay,
fine.
yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, as far as the Byron, let me say this about the Byron Allen thing real quick. Can I say something about the Byron Allen thing real quick? I wanted to ask you what is it really gonna do, like, for the average black person? Because how many of us, you know, don't get a chance to, right now at this moment, without reparations, get a chance to fight for a spot on Comcast? I think we should focus on reparations instead of that, and we'll get the reparations. Then we'll have enough power to actually make noise for Byron Allen or the people like him.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. I appreciate you calling in, fam. We gotta have the whole fam here. I appreciate anybody who calls in. Gotta have the whole fam. Not just your selected calls. Gotta have the whole fam. We just gotta get people in and out. But I appreciate them calling. 661, you are my last caller. 661, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing tonight? My name is Tano. And Yvette and Antonio, I want to thank you guys because with the conversation that I walked into the middle of when I got exposed to you both a few weeks ago is it's incredible, and at the same time it challenged me to do some things that I've been reluctant to do in the past, which is to ask some quality questions, not only of myself, but what is it I want as a person, as a black man in America, you know, and start really examining what's going on and make thoughtful choices instead of just taking the information that's being pushed into my face and saying, well, that's the way it is, so I guess I just roll with it. The normalization of human suffering, our suffering as a group, it's so normalized that when I talk to people who look like me and I ask them simple questions about, you know, how you feel about this, or how's your life going, you know, how free are you in this system? You know, they don't have quality answers because they never took the time to think about it, which is fine. But once somebody asks you the question, it behooves you to kind of think about it for a second and ask yourself some questions. But I think the biggest challenge we have, and I'm going to talk about Byron Allen in just a second. I know this is the last call, is that most people, well, it's part of human nature that we have some assumptions we operate out of, meaning that there's certain things that underlie everything we think, say, and do, and our inability to recognize that prevents us from seeing a possibility that we couldn't consider before. Like, I'll give you an example. One of the main things that most people have is they have a deep-seated need to be right. So sometimes that need to be right will override common sense and information and make them go off on a tangent about this, totally ignoring the point. Now, the point of the matter is that we are economically excluded from this country, right? And at the same time, we're supposed to be citizens of this company and have citizens of this country and have laws that protect us. But we've normalized the fact that we get none of that. And as soon as somebody like yourself, like Antonio, brings some very thoughtful questions to the table, rather than examining the information and trying to say, does that make sense? We want to attack the person who brought the question to the table.
But that's okay. That's okay because that's the way it's been ever since, as far as I can remember, you know. But that's okay. All I'm saying is thank you for the conversation.
No, thank you,
as far as Byron Allen situation go, you know, we all need to do what we can to bring attention to this. Now, I'm a meager means. I'm going through my own challenges and situations just like everybody else. Yep. But I know I could send a tweet. I could send an email to, you know, my senator. I could start having conversations, meaningful conversations with the people in my family who's not paying attention to this. Because I see it's my duty and my responsibility to keep the conversation going. And even if that's just as simple as talking to the people in my immediate circle and asking them some questions.
Yeah, I agree, fam, and I agree. It's simple as a tweet too. I see a lot of the same faces on Twitter. Why? All of y'all have access to the internet. Like, make something go viral. Like, how hard is that? How hard is it to make a tweet go viral? Like, do that. Like, why aren't there thousands of? Do that. Like, that's not a hard thing to do.
It doesn't require any energy other than you making a decision to do something. Not sit up and wait for somebody to tell you what to do. Because we all have the power to do something. Okay? And all of us doing a little something will make up to a big something, and we can actually get something done. So, you know, I don't want to take up the time. I got a lot to say, but I know this ain't the forum for me to say it. It's my responsibility to create that forum for me to say all the things I got to say, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be watching you. I'm going to be supporting you, and I'm going to be out here trying to do the same thing you're doing, which is, you know, wake up as many people as possible and get us to have a conversation about something that matters for all of us, not just for me or just for you.
Absolutely.
I love you. Y'all be good.
Appreciate it, fam. Yeah, it's about collective uplift. And understand something. This isn't just like a cable law or a Comcast law. This is a law that like could get Wells Fargo. We could audit the banks. So all this stuff that Wells Fargo has been doing in terms of, and all these other with their subprime loans and everything that happens, and we could get them to do government ads, you know, with black people, black media, all that stuff. This law could be used for that. That's what it should have. I don't know. It's almost like people forget about these laws. But that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about. That's what he's using it for right now. We're not talking about what we could use it for in terms of enforcement of the people who are predators in our community in terms of predatory lending and all of that. It's for that too. It's about the law. Like if we could just be there and stand in that for a moment. It's about the law. And that law is very inclusive in terms of what we can do and how we can sue and audit. It's about the law. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it's about the law. And I want to thank everybody. That was the last call. I want to thank everybody who called in. I appreciate it. You know, this, you know, because I don't think when I say it's about the law, I don't think we understand that, like, not just Wells Fargo, the law that Byron Allen is suing about can be used for that chicken farmer, right? They're trying to shut that law down. It's about the law. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about anything else but the law. We want to keep it. And everybody is radio silent about it. Like, this is historic what they're trying to do. That but for as opposed to a motivating factor, that is everything. That is everything. And we ain't even talking about it. I saw Mark Thompson on TV talking about the Trump's poll numbers. Child, if you don't, all these people are so useless in so many ways. But fam, before we go, I want to remind everybody, no book club date, like I said, but this is the book that we will be reading. So please keep that in mind if you want to do the book club. As always, fam, please hit that like button before you leave. Before you actually decide you want to get out of the chat, please hit that like button for me. Just costs you no money. Hit that bell if you don't get notifications already. If this popped up while you were on, please hit that bell so you get notifications. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. If you want to donate, you can go to donatebrown.com or patreon.com/ycarnell. All of that will be in the description. If you want to buy a shirt, I'm going to try to get a lot of those off this weekend. Please go to ADOSmerch.com. That's ADOSmerch.com, and you can do that. All the things that you do, but please share this if you can on your social media. Please hit that like button. Please just hit that like button for me. It helps to hit the like button, so please hit the like button. And fam, As always, we will have another conversation at another time. I just think we need to part of like being on a code is like understanding this is something that's bigger than what we're talking about. You got to challenge these cook people. Hell, we got the cook, the spell just like the Coke, and we got all these billionaires just out here shutting us out. Like, you have to, if you don't have the laws that, if you don't have the laws to do that and to protect that, what do you think you have in America? You have nothing. You have bottom caste living, which is like barely above survival. And I think it's going to fall below survival. But we'll talk about that another show. Fam, finish your libations. Hit the like button. Get to bed. You got work to do. I appreciate you showing up and showing out. I appreciate all the callers tonight, especially the teachable moment caller, all of that. It was wonderful. And we will talk soon, fam. Thank you.